Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another new video. I wasn't planning on doing one so soon really, initially, up until a couple of days ago when it was announced that the 13th Doctor would be announced this weekend, and I thought I'd have to do something, a little comment, just to give you my thoughts on the news that Jodie Whittaker will be taking over the part from the Christmas special this year, and then in Series 11 next year as well. So what was my reaction to this news, my first reaction? Well, I think first I'll go through the circumstances that I actually discovered the news. Like many other people, I was watching the Wimbledon thing live, you know, the awful sports stuff, very boring, but it was a little bit different for me because I knew that I wouldn't be at home, so I couldn't watch it on the TV screen on a computer. I wasn't at home for the announcement. Basically, it was a little bit complicated because I was meant to be at a concert that afternoon, and I kind of figured it was going to clash with that 4 till 7 window that Wimbledon could finish. So the interval came, and Twitter was saying the announcement was imminent. This was about, I don't know, 4 o'clock, 20 to 4, and I was getting a bit stressed about it, you know, what am I going to do? Because I didn't want to miss such an important moment in Doctor Who history. Never mind that it ended up being a woman, but just a new incarnation of the Doctor, full stop, was not something that I wanted to miss live. Because we didn't know the nature of the reveal, if it was going to be a video, or, I don't know, a press release, a photo, some kind of quote or interview. And yeah, I just didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to experience it in a different way to everybody else, really. I wanted to experience it in the way it was designed to be experienced. So to cut a long story short, basically, in the second half of this concert, I very sneakily, and quite naughtily as well, managed to sneak in an iPhone and some headphones and watch the clip. Well, after 20 minutes or so of the boring Wimbledon stuff. It went on forever with whatever his name, Federer, the champion guy, the winner, walking around, shaking hands with everybody, and then going back to his locker, changing room. But anyway, soon after that, the little video clip did come of about 1 minute. So what did I think? Well, let's go shot by shot, I suppose. I mean, to start with, I wasn't sure if it was a man or a woman in the coat and the hoodie combination. I think it's quite clever, actually, how they had that combination, the hoodie in particular, because it hides the fact that it's someone's hair, a woman's hair, and that made it a bit more ambiguous, a bit more mysterious, which was nice. I think the way they revealed it as well, quite gradually, they show her walking, and then, her hand as well, and her eyes, and then she takes off the hood, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And you kind of think, okay, is this a female hand? Oh, they're female eyes, aren't they? And then she takes the hood off, and it's like, you know, bang, bang, bang. Very snappy cuts between interesting shots. And, yeah, it just made the reveal really exciting, I think. And then there's text coming up saying, it's Jodie Whittaker. Basically, it is a woman. So how do I feel about it being a woman? Well, I mean, wow, was all I could think of at the time. I was chuckling to myself, grinning to myself. Obviously, I had to keep quite quiet because I was in a concert room. Other people were listening to an orchestra in the background. And I was just watching the new Doctor being revealed. But I was laughing to myself. I was thinking, you know, this is brilliant, really. It's quite exciting. Because really, you know, disregarding any logistical things, any logic, anything like that, I was just really, really excited, I suppose, for a female, and just the buzz it would cause in the fandom, but also the inevitable criticism as well, the immature responses. I was just thinking, it's going to be great to read all of that. It's going to be very entertaining, and it really is just going to split the fandom. But certainly, yeah, I wasn't thinking of it really from a logistical point of view. I was just thinking, wow, yeah, this is going to divide opinions, and as well as that, it's quite exciting for the show as well. It's a big step forward to have a woman in the lead role as the Doctor. That is a very big thing. And I couldn't really help but feel that, you know, even if Jodie does turn out to be really awful, which I hope she won't be, well, I know she won't be, she's a great actress, but even if she did, the prospect of having a female Doctor made me feel warm inside, made me buzz and feel, you know, wow, this is something really, really quite exciting. So, Jodie Whittaker, I've experienced her in Broadchurch. I thought she was a great actress in that show. Obviously, Broadchurch, as you'll know, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, a long-term viewer, you'll know that Broadchurch is one of my favourite shows. It's up there with Doctor Who and the likes of Sherlock and Torchwood, Sarah Jane Class, all of that stuff. But Broadchurch is really special to me because, well, I discovered it last year. I watched Series 1 and 2 to kind of get a flavour of what Chris Chibnall will be like as a showrunner of Doctor Who, because I'd heard it was good, but I think when it was on initially in 2013 and 15, I was perhaps a little bit too young for it, the themes, the adult themes and stuff that goes on in that show. But one thing that occurred to me today, when I'm recording this, the same day as the reveal, was that the second scene of Broadchurch, the very first episode of the very first series, actually shows Jodie Whittaker playing Beth, the mum from Broadchurch, Danny's mum. And it's after the montage of Danny on the cliff that opens the episode and opens the whole series. And then it's a very clever transition, actually, to a picture, a mural on her wall, I think it is. And then she wakes up the morning after he has been killed, which she doesn't note at the time. But anyway, the importance and relevance of that is, I was just thinking that it's so weird how the second shot, or the second scene I saw of Broadchurch at the time, I didn't know that Jodie would go on to be such a significant character, I suppose, and a significant actress in the grand scheme of things, with particular regards to Doctor Who, because I was just watching it thinking, let's find out what Chris Chibnall is like as a showrunner, how he runs shows like Broadchurch, and how that might transfer to Doctor Who. So it's weird to think that I went into it for that reason, and then, Jodie was there, that very second scene, and I had no clue whatsoever that she would go on to become such a significant figure in Doctor Who history and lore. So that is something quite weird. Broadchurch is basically the only thing I've seen her in, so I don't have much experience to go off. But certainly from those 3 series, she was magnificent. I mean, as every cast member is on that show, I think because the production values are so high, and they attract big names, and people want to go down there to the Jurassic Coast and spend time in the beautiful locations, filming stuff, because it's a very high-profile series. It was, because it's finished now, I suppose. But I think, yeah, it does attract big actors, good quality actors, and that kind of fits with the production values on the show. So Jodie in particular was playing Beth in Broadchurch, the grieving mother who has to go through a lot because of her son Danny being, well, the boy that is the kind of centre, focal point, the victim of the whole murder that essentially all 3 series, in some form or another, revolve around. So there is a lot of material for her, a lot of different emotional stuff, different emotions, all kinds of different scenarios, different circumstances, different situations. So I think she's certainly got the experience, and she does deliver. She was magnificent in Broadchurch, as I've said. Some very, very impressive stuff throughout all 3 series, really. So hopefully that will transfer to Doctor Who. I mean, like I say, I've not seen her in anything else as such, but from what I have seen, she is a very, very good actress. Going back to the whole thing of actually having a female Doctor, it's something that at the time, when watching the announcement, I was thinking, oh yes, like I said. In hindsight, a few hours on, I'm kind of thinking more from a logistical point of view. It might be a bit strange, and it is going to take some getting used to, I think. Even though it's an exciting prospect, and will definitely take Doctor Who in a new direction. It will definitely open up lots of new opportunities and exciting opportunities. But at the same time, there is the kind of considerations, I suppose, of how it will work. I mean, you can't help but wonder if the companion will be male or female. It doesn't really matter. They could have one of each, like with Series 10, Nardole and Bill. But there are things like that you can't help but think. For example, I was thinking as well, if the Doctor after this isn't a female, will people then fight back and say, oh, you're reversing it back to a male, and then it could get very complicated in years to come. The same applies for Missy, I suppose. Will Jodie act opposite another female master, or will the master go back to being a male? Will there still be the relationship? Will the same kind of style of relationship, the same type of relationship there? And I suppose also with the 13th Doctor's sexual inclinations and sexual desires and attraction, will she like boys or girls or both? It's weird, and it does open a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of questions, I think, from a logistical point of view, as to quite how it will work. And clearly, I think, lots of fans will take quite a bit of convincing, and I can understand why people are cautious about it, because it is a very radical change. It's a very big thing for the show. It's something that's not really been encountered before. I mean, we've had it in the form of Missy, and I think Missy and the kind of lines in Series 10 as well, and another series, particularly that one in The World Enough and Time, about the fluidity of gender and the man-crushed bit with the Doctor and Bill on the roof of the university, St. Luke's University. Definitely things like that, I think, have paved the way for a female Doctor. For me, it does feel right. It feels like a natural progression after Missy and after things like that to actually have a female Doctor in the role. But nevertheless, as I say, I can understand why some fans are more cautious, and it will take a lot of getting used to have a female in the role, definitely. It's not something we've had before. Other logistical questions and queries I can't help but think about are whether, that the Doctor will now have periods and stuff like that and get pregnant, perhaps, like Miss Quill in Class. In fact, actually, she's another kind of example, trial, I suppose, of a female Doctor, as with Missy in particular as well. They've both been very Doctor-like figures, particularly Missy in Series 10, and yeah, I suppose they've been trials, not intentionally, I guess, but trials for a female Doctor, and that has helped soften the blow. So Miss Quill as well, from Class, deserves a mention there, definitely. But yeah, it does raise the question, and also in real life as well. Jodie Whittaker, I've learnt from my mother, she looked her up, she found out that she has one child, a little boy I think it is. If she wants to have a bigger family, of course it does raise the question as well as to how she will do that, if it will impact on how long she stays on Doctor Who. I think she's 35, because she might want to have another child, and obviously we've not had this issue with Doctor Who before, because the Doctor's always been a male actor in the role. But if it's a female and the female gets pregnant, then the bump will show, and then obviously that's not going to, well, it's not going to be very consistent in the show, and it's going to raise questions and not quite work, perhaps. So certainly there are little bits like that to think about, I suppose. Not massive things, just little logistical nitpicks, really. But yeah, it's interesting, I suppose, to consider how long Jodie will stay in the role, perhaps, especially if she wants to have a bigger family, or maybe she doesn't. And obviously spending 10 months in Cardiff away from her family that she's already got, her husband and her child, maybe that will take its toll on her as a mother. I don't know. And talking about her as a mother, I think in some of the interview quotes and bits and bobs from her first interview, and other bits from Chibnall and other people as well, there have been hints that we will be seeing more of a kind of female life force, motherly attitude and motherly characteristics in the form of the 13th Doctor, which will be interesting, because I suppose going back to the whole thing about periods that I kind of joked about, on a serious note, the 13th Doctor being a female, I suppose will inevitably have that kind of element of a motherly relationship with people and her attitude going about her day-to-day business, really. I guess she'll be more emotional with people, perhaps, and yeah, that motherly aspect will be there, more caring, perhaps, going out of her way to care for people, because that's at the heart of the Doctor's character, really, isn't it? I suppose, being kind and caring for people, but certainly as a mother-like figure, I think that will accentuate it a little bit more, and certainly, I mean, it's a female stereotypical thing, really, isn't it? But I suppose we can't get away from that, and certainly I think inevitably there is going to be an aspect of that motherly nature in her performance, so that'll be interesting to see, definitely. Aside from that, other little thoughts that I've had are, well, mostly they regard merchandising, to be honest. For example, as some people have already said on Twitter, from next year's calendar onwards, there's going to be too many Doctors to fit on. We're going to have 14 incarnations, I suppose, but 13 proper incarnations, as the merchandising people and branding people like to say, because John Hurt is just a little side note, I suppose, little footnotes. But there's going to be 13, so how's that going to work? Are they going to just fit 2 into December or January or something like that? God knows how that's going to work for the calendar designers and makers in years to come. As well as that, I suppose, with posters as well, there's going to be a female there. I mean, it's not a big thing, but it will take some getting used to, having a female with the other males. And I suppose just with all the branding, with all the merchandising, having an action figure of her, if character decides to make an action figure of, well, any other Doctor Who character anytime soon, but having an action figure, having posters, having anything really, magazine covers, but particularly with posters of all the Doctors and having a female there. Like I say, it will take some time to adjust, I think, and for a while it might seem quite strange, but certainly I think with any new Doctor, with Peter Capaldi, everyone said he was a bit too old, and, at the time I didn't like him very much. Mostly, I have to say, because the day before he'd kind of been leaked by the bookies, and I suppose that left me with a bad taste in my mouth. It left me a bit disappointed. Jodie was also in the bookies' considerations for the 13th Doctor this time round, but I'd never really considered it very seriously, I don't think. So it's more exciting with her, I think. It's slightly more of a shock, definitely because she's a female, and we've never had a female before. And I think Jodie being a bit more of a shock than perhaps previous Doctors have been has perhaps made it a bit easier to accept her into the role, I think, for me on a personal level. But yeah, like I say, it will take some time for every fan to adjust, even the ones that are over the moon about the news, we've not seen her in action yet, we've not seen a line of dialogue. I think actually the way the BBC have handled it from a marketing point of view, to just show a little pre-filmed preview clip and then have a typed interview on the Doctor Who blog or on Twitter via Doctor Who magazine, that's a sensible move, because it's obviously going to cause a lot of controversy. So having a line of dialogue from Jodie's 13th Doctor, or just even her actually doing a spoken interview on a video clip or an audio clip, might add to that controversy, and I suppose emphasise it a little bit too much. Because obviously I don't think they were going to repeat the disaster that was the Next Doctor live thing with Zoe Ball that happened for the 12th Doctor, that thing. And I suppose with it being a female, the first female, like I say, there will be a bit of controversy. And so the way they've done it is quite subtle, I think. It's quite low-key in a way, but it is high-key, but not in a way that emphasises Jodie as an actress, because she's not speaking, it's all typed up, and no dialogue in that clip. So the way they've done that, I think, is quite clever, a good way of doing it, and I suppose, really, that's a good point to end on, really, because in the months to come, we will get more used to the prospect of having a female Doctor, and, you know, the bits of information will come through, a new TARDIS interior, well, maybe that's a bit off yet, but a new TARDIS interior, exterior, the new Doctor's costume and filming beginning. Well, I hope they clamp down on filming a bit, by the way, with the whole DWSR stuff, it's got a bit out of hand. I hope they bring the kind of Broadchurch style security to it, I suppose. Yeah, I won't get into that too much, but I hope they clamp down on that a bit, because it is costing the show, I think, with spoilers and the fandom. It's not causing a great air, a great taste in the fandom, really. It's causing more trouble than it's worth, so I hope Chibnall clamps down on that. But yes, there'll be some snaps of her, I suppose, on set, in her costume. And yeah, the little bits of information will come through leading up to the regeneration itself in Christmas, and then after that is 2018. It'll be a brand new series, Series 11, Chris Timblell's era of Doctor Who. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. So yeah, we've had the first announcement, and we've got all of that to look forward to in the coming months, really. I suppose that's a good place to end the video, like I said, really. Please do let me know what you've thought of this news in the comments below. I know it's caused controversy in the fandom, as I've said many times, really. It was inevitable, I think, but hopefully, as I say, in the coming months and years, I suppose, coming series and episodes, fans will warm to Jodie's 13th incarnation, I think. And as I've said many times, it'll just be so exciting to see how that plays out, how fans react at Christmas in Series 11. Yeah, and that's all I've got to say, really, I think. So please comment below your thoughts, and I reply to as many as I can, and if you want to ask me a question, or argue with any of my points, challenge any points I've made, then please do that in the comments, but don't be too aggressive. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you think, so please do that, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the news that the 13th Doctor will be played by a woman, by Jodie Whittaker. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It's probably been a bit more rambly than usual. I didn't have much of a script for this one, it was just basically first thoughts, because it's a very exciting time. There's a lot of adrenaline rush, I suppose. It's very fresh news. I'm recording it the day it was announced, quite late at night though, because I got home quite late because of circumstances beyond my control. I wasn't able to do this earlier. So thank you very much for watching again, and I'll see you very soon, hopefully for some more new videos, top 10s perhaps, character analyses, all sorts of stuff like that. So goodbye for now, guys, and I very much look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the official Doctor Who YouTube channel, and to mine as well. Thank you very much for watching again, and bye for now.